I'll call this meeting to order and ask our city clerk to call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Present.
Commissioner Guess?
Present.
Commissioner Henderson?
Present.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Bray?
Present. So I'd ask everybody to stand for the invocation, and Commissioner Wilson is going to lead us.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this beautiful day that we have enjoyed, and thank you for the many blessings that we have that come from us from living in this country and living in this beautiful community. Please be with us and guide us as we make decisions that impact the citizens of our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we welcome Assistant City Manager Michelle Smolin. Welcome.
Thank you.
Assistant City Manager, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are none, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Before we get into the agenda, just a couple things I'll mention that might be of interest to folks. First of all, on Thursday evening at 5 o'clock, we're going to have a joint city-county meeting, and we're going to be talking about a couple of issues, the outdoor sports park, of course, and then 911. So those are issues that we've been working on together, and we're making progress, and I think all of us are excited about the next step in the journey. So Thursday night, I believe it's going to be at the convention center, right? So, and then I know people are curious. I can't really say a lot yet. People are curious about the search for our city manager, but we are in full throes of that, working hard, and we're following a process, and we're excited about the opportunity. But we have to follow the process, and that's really about all we can say at this point. So I know there's people that are dying to know exactly what's going on, but that's where we are today. So we'll move to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. The city clerk will read the items recommended for approval. I have two items that I'd like to pull off the consent agenda that we could talk about, and that is F and G. City clerk, please. Are there any other commissioners that would like an item removed for separate discussion? No. We good? Okay. Then I will ask the city clerk to read the items recommended for approval.
Approve minutes for the June 8th, 2021 Paducah Board of Commissioners meeting. Receive and file documents. Reappointment of Vicki Brantley and appointment of Mary Mag Wells Vallejo to replace Linnea Baumgardner, whose term has expired, to the Paducah-McCracken County Senior Citizens Incorporated. Said term shall expire June 30th, 2024. Reappointment of William Cox, Mark Davis, and Brian Carner to the Paducah Area Transit System. Said term shall expire June 30th, 2025. Personnel actions. A municipal order accepting a 2020 Community Development Block Grant in the amount of $200,000 through the Department for Local Government for the Four Rivers Recovery Center and authorizing the mayor to execute all required grant award documents. A municipal order authorizing an application for a 2021 Community Development Block Grant in the amount of $200,000 through the Department for Local Government for the Four Rivers Recovery Center for personnel expenses.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, so with that, the two items that I pulled off the consent agenda were, I just thought, essentially it's approving the pay and the position schedules for the city personnel, and then also approval of the job grade schedule for non-union city positions, and this information is available. It's public record, but we are approving it for the next year, and I thought I'd just ask Stephanie to step up and tell us what we're getting ready to vote on.
Absolutely. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable commissioners. The job grade schedule is something that goes through and creates the positions within the city, and that would be the non-union positions. The union ones are created through the contracts. With this particular job grade schedule gives a 2.5% increase to the ranges for each job. And in particular, anything that is bold or underlined is something that is changed, or a strike through is something being removed from the previous job grade schedule. So that is all the positions where they fall within the city.
Okay?
On the position and pay schedule, this one in particular, it goes through generally twice a year, once in July for the cost of living adjustments for all positions, as well as any increases such as ASME related to the contract. Those go into this particular document. And then additionally, any of those new positions created are added, as well as budgeted positions that coincide with the approved budget back in June.
Okay.
So again, anything on the pay and position schedule, bold and underlined has changed, is new, or any strike through is something that is being removed. By each department, you can see the total budgeted number, the vacancies, what's filled. It also keeps track. We still have a few civil service positions that are filled, so it keeps track of those as well.
I think one of the questions that somebody might have is, during last year and during COVID, we froze a lot of positions, and I think this budget really addresses unfreezing those positions. But I would just remind everybody that just because it's in the budget doesn't mean that that's necessarily what we're going to do. We're going to make strategic decisions about, how to allocate our resources and what positions to unfreeze. I think is the way I'd say that. And also, as it relates to managerial decisions, within departments, about what people, how they're going to deploy their resources. This doesn't address this at all. This just really addresses all the positions in the city.
Correct. Yes.
And did I describe that correctly?
Yes, you did,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
I did the best I could. So, any questions or comments about that from any of our other commissioners?
No, I appreciate you pulling it, just because I had some concerns earlier, not necessarily concerns, but questions, and I was able to get my arms around it and understand it a little bit better, and thank you, Assistant City Manager, for walking me through that, so I'm good with that.
Okay, and I did mention how it typically goes through twice a year. You'll see it in roughly late January, early February, and that's to prep for the budgeting process as well, to see where those vacancies are.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Galt, for, bringing it up, raising the question.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, could we have a motion to approve, not both of them at once, individually, or, yes, we can approve
Yes.
both of them at once?
Individually.
Individually, thank you.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order adopting the FY 2021 through 2022 position and pay schedule for the full-time employees of the City of Paducah, Kentucky.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Read the next motion.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, a municipal order adopting the FY 2021 through 2022 job grade schedule for the employees of the City of Paducah, Kentucky.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. So the next thing is resolution relative to capital expenditures from the proceeds of tax-exempt obligations. Assistant City Manager?
Yep. Do we need to read anything before I talk about it?
We can.
Okay.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, declaring the city's intent to reimburse itself for the cost of capital expenditures from the proceeds of tax-exempt obligations."
Now you can talk about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this resolution is related to the city's financial letter of commitment to Wayland Ventures for the public portion of the city block development. So that includes the parking lot, some green space, and some hardscaping. And I give a lot of credit to, this was a team effort, and our finance director, John Perkins, really came up with this. It's his brainchild. So we're very thankful for the group effort, and we think this is a very strong recommendation. So the purpose of this resolution is to create that financial letter of commitment that we will use $3 million from the city's reserves to pay for that construction of the public spaces. And then we intend to reimburse ourselves later, the city, through a future debt issuance. Could be something like a bond. So what this allows us to do is basically use those reserves so that we're not paying interest. It's low risk to the city while the construction is going on or before they've even broken ground. You know, if we took that bond out now, we would be paying interest and that kind of thing while the project is ongoing. So we think this is a creative solution. It allows us to meet our commitment that's in that development agreement for that financial letter of commitment to Wayland.
So it's kind of like a construction loan, which allows us not to spend the money until we really need to spend the money, so that we don't pay, any excess interest. And then once we've accumulated all that we need, then we can go out and sell a bond or pay for it in another manner.
Exactly. Got it.
And reimburse ourselves then
Yes.
for the
Right,
TIF.
right.
And is this the last piece on our half?
Yes. Yes.
All right, and the other party still has some things that they have to fulfill for,
Yes, there are a couple of things that they have to fulfill, and I will speak to it, but I'll turn over to staff if I misspeak. But their portion is their financing, and then also getting their permits, and they have until August to do that.
okay.
There is also a 6-month extension, though. Didn't we grant them that if they needed it for COVID
Well, it's-
purposes? If they needed
There
it?
is they haven't asked for it, but it's in there.
It's there if
Right.
needed. Okay. Hopefully they won't.
That's right. That's right.
Questions? Thoughts?
I think
Okay.
it's mine to approve. So motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, City Clerk, would you read the next, this is our municipal order. Would you please read this one?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing the Finance Director to Pay Clean Earth Incorporated in an amount of $46,795.70 for the disposal of household hazardous waste and electronic waste collected during the City-County 2021 Cleanup Day."
So move.
Second.
Chris, you want to just tell us about that? I know enough to be dangerous, but I know we spent some money on the cleanup day.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Commissioners, Cleanup Day is a very big deal to Public Works, and I think for the city of Paducah. Just to give you some quick numbers, the Household Hazardous Waste Grant is used to pay a portion of the bills that we have for that day. To just give you an idea, we collected over 30 tons of electronics, pesticides, and household hazardous waste. The total for that particular bill, which you've just read, is $46,000. The grant we get for that is around $25,000. And that's a partnership with the county. So after all is said and done, we split the remaining costs. So after all is said and done, the city will get back around $22,000 for that day. More numbers, we collected over 170 tons of trash, over 30 tons of tires, and 53% were county residents and 4% 46% were city residents. So this particular year, it was pretty even. Usually it's a little county heavy, but this year it was even. We have to remember this year covered 2 years. We didn't have the previous year because of COVID.
Oh, yeah, I see.
So the numbers are about the same as they would normally be, but nevertheless, you can see the amount of waste collected on that day.
But that's about what it's been running the last few years? I mean, is that in line with?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is. We only have 1 day to do it. It goes from 7 to 2. If you're in line at 2, you get to come through, no matter what the line is. So we're happy about that and proud about that.
I know it's a huge effort, on your staff's part and, a lot of city employees, and it's something that the residents in the community, value a great deal because if you got to get rid of, I think about paint. I got paint sitting around my garage, I need to get rid of. And really, there's nowhere to get rid of it unless you take advantage of something like this.
And many people hold on to things for the year until they have this. We have this
Yeah.
day, so I think it's worth it.
So we're going to get a grant for about $22,000, you said?
No, the way that works, we apply every year. The particular grant for this year, this event, I think was $24,000.
Okay,
And I think the one we're applying for next year is around $25,000.
okay,
What I was speaking of is it's a partnership with the county, and after the grant is applied, our expenses will be an additional for this around $22,000 overall. We'll get back. So the city, we pay all the bills, take the grant off the top, split the remaining costs with the county.
I see, okay. Okay, any questions? We good? Okay. City Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, I'd like our new Director of Planning, Nick Hutchinson, welcome Nick, to come up and talk about this next item, but maybe first of all, you could read it, City Clerk.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order of the City of Paducah, Kentucky Authorizing the City Manager to Enact Certain Temporary Street Closures and Parking Space Vacations in the Downtown Area for the Purposes of Assisting Local Businesses to Expand Their Outside Dining Area Footprint."
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Last year, May 2020, the Commission passed a municipal order which allowed for the city manager to enact temporary closure of streets downtown, and that was in relationship to the Kentucky Healthy at Work requirements. Since that has lapsed, we are wanting to continue that initiative since dining at Market House Square was so successful. And so the municipal order in front of you tonight continues that authorization for the city manager to enact those temporary closures. The Parks Department is going to be providing the tables, and Public Works is going to be providing the street closures. Katie Axe, Main Street Director, Principal Planner, has been in communication with downtown merchants, property owners, and will continue that throughout the closure process.
So do you plan to close both sides, or I understood it was just the one side?
Just the west side.
Okay.
And all the business owners are in full support, right? I mean, that's what I hear.
Correct. Yeah, it allows for them to expand their outdoor dining space, and they found that to be really effective in business continuity, and so I think it's important that we continue to assist our downtown businesses, and as visitors and community members start to get back to downtown, it's really important to have this additional amenity.
Sure.
And it's closing 24/7?
Correct.
And last year was, last year was a different year with COVID, but those streets being closed, I mean, it gave a completely different feel, to that part of town. And I think it's a good thing. Okay, thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, so we have a couple of ordinances actually, we have 3 ordinances to adopt tonight. This is our second reading, so City Clerk, would you please read?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a second amendment to the lease agreement with Cremation Society of Paducah LLC. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance approves the second amendment to lease agreement between the City of Paducah, Kentucky and Cremation Society of Paducah LLC to allow the Cremation Society of Paducah LLC to operate as a crematory, visitation, and ceremonial funeral service establishment and cremation garden.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on this one? This is the second reading. I haven't heard, anything from anyone. I just repeat what I said, Oak Grove Cemetery is a, really important asset for the city of Paducah. And anything that enhances it or supports it is, I think, a good thing. So I'm ready to call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, the next, would you read the next one, please?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2020-6-8641 entitled, an ordinance adopting the City of Paducah, Kentucky annual operating budget for fiscal year July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government. This ordinance is summarized as follows, that the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021 as adopted by ordinance number 2020-6-8641 be amended by the following reappropriations. Transfer $2,900,000 from the FY 2021 General Fund Reserve to the Flood Wall Cash Match FW0016 project account.
So moved.
Second.
So this, again, just to review, this is allocating that $2.9 million toward the flood wall project that we are bound by federal law to do. And we just had a discussion, Jonathan and I were really just in a discussion with Jack Kane from WPSD right before this meeting, talking about the budget. He had a few questions, and this, this money is really, money that we've had saved, and that we were able to come up with, and make sure that we could, fulfill our obligations, on the flood wall. And sometimes it's hard to keep up with, where all the money goes. The different funds. The city has a ton of different funds, but this is a good thing, and so I don't have any questions. But the flood wall is very important to us, and we have to take care of it. So, call roll, please.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, this is the second reading of our FY 2022 budget, and I'll ask the city clerk to call roll. Read the ordinance.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance adopting the City of Paducah, Kentucky annual operating budget for fiscal year July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022 by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government. This ordinance is summarized as follows, adopting the City of Paducah annual budget for fiscal year July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022 by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government at $72,124,075 and summarized by fund as follows. General, $40,383,175. MAP, $1,402,000. Investment, $5,274,565. CDBG, $600,000. E911, $2,459,800. Port Awards, $90,800. Room tax, $1 million. Debt, $3,640,640. CIP, $1,435,000. Bond fund, $0. Solid waste, $6,463,355. Section 8, $0. Transient boat dock, $104,715. Civic Center, $28,050. Rental, $132,210. Radio depreciation, $512,200. Fleet maintenance, $619,370. Fleet lease fund, $1,865,895. Insurance, $1,401,875. Health insurance, $3,609,600. AEPF, $13,700. PFPF, $1,011,805. Other trusts, $75,320, for a total of $72,124,075.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we've been through this ad infinitum, it seems like. So any questions? I dare you to ask a question. Are we all good?
So I do want to say thank you to the staff, because this is an incredibly long process that starts in January, and our finance department just does a fantastic job with the leadership team, and of course, City Manager Jim Arndt, and thank you to the board, because you also put a lot of hours into this budget, so.
Thank you, Michelle. And, I might add, the job that our finance department does is really second to none. I know we're getting ready to get an award for the 30th straight year in the way that, that we manage the budget. So thank you, John, and for all your staff for the great job you do. We appreciate it. Okay, call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, from there, we turn to a couple of discussion items. The first one is Remote Workers Incentive Program. This is one of the Commission's 12 priorities. When we met back in February, actually, early February, we know that COVID has put a lot of people on the move. A lot of people are able to work from home, have been able to work from home, and there's probably more relocation going on around the United States than we've seen in a long, long time. That's probably that's one of the factors that's probably driven this real estate market that's going on out there. But we asked the staff to come up with a incentive program, and so we have a first draft of that, and Catherine Byers is going to tell us about it.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor and Honorable Commissioners, for the opportunity to share this proposed remote worker incentive program with you all this evening. As you all well know, the world of work has changed. The pandemic has brought a lot of things to us, and one of those is remote work. A lot of companies, businesses have opted for full-time remote work, even as we're moving out of the pandemic as a whole. Therefore, you all, as the Board of Commissioners, have put together a priority to create a remote workers incentive program. So first, let's look at what is a remote worker. We're looking to relocate 40 full-time remote workers permitted to continue their remote work here in Paducah. These workers must be relocating from at least 100 miles outside of Paducah. In my case study research, I was looking to identify two things. The first of which, what are remote workers looking for in a community? The second of which, what incentives are communities offering? So the first of which, what are employees or remote workers seeking in their relocation? Things like quality of life, sustainable city life, manageable taxation, and a hub for technology is just a few of those. The second of which, what are qualified incentives that other communities are offering to these remote workers? Things like internet access assistance, a sizable financial component, tax rebates, and opportunities to network and meet people in their new community. In addition to case study research, I also conducted preliminary high-level engagement meetings with local stakeholders. Together, we identified what will be most impactful in our community. So you can see a few of those that I've listed out here for you all. These are all organizations in our community that staff has connected with and asked for insight as we're developing the proposed program. Following that case study research and engagement with local stakeholders came a 3-tiered proposed program. The first is our financial incentive component. The second is our marketing plan to convey that program to proposed remote workers. The third of which is a perks package. How are they going to connect with our community? How are they going to see Paducah's high quality of life? So as you can see, these our financial incentives has 3 different elements involved in that. The first is assistance in their relocation expenses. The second of which is internet access to make that remote work possible for them. The third, a tax waive to keep us competitive to states who don't have that. Primarily, we're looking at Texas and Tennessee to pull those remote workers from them and relocate them to Paducah. In order to make that happen, we have to be able to combat their lack of income tax there in those states. Moving on to the perks package with potential partner organizations. When thinking of appropriate partner organizations, we look at who contributes to Paducah's high quality of life. Who engages with our professionals? These groups will all either directly or indirectly benefit from this program. These organizations encourage community engagement and will increase retention of these remote workers. Moving on to the goals of our marketing plan. Paducah's location is situated in a way that centrally locates us to other metropolitan cities. How we depict Paducah's high quality of life, low cost of living, and impactful incentives is of the utmost importance. So moving on to our marketing component. This comes a small piece of our budget to divide this into three different tiers. The first, Google ads. The second of which, social media ads, to include things like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. The third and final being the sponsored e-newsletter to connect with these proposed cities. So first of all, we're looking at Chicago, Illinois. We have data that backs up a lot of business owners actually relocate to Paducah naturally. So we want to make sure we're reaching those people. We also want to make sure we're reaching communities like Louisville and Atlanta, as well as Charlotte, North Carolina, the tech banking hub, as well as Austin and Houston, where a lot of tech companies have been relocating to in the pandemic, pushing a lot of people in those communities out, wanting to have a more small town life. You all, as our Board of Commission, have hoisted transparent communication with the public to a top priority. In an effort to hold true to that, we've made sure to engage with those who will be impacted by beginning discussions with potential organizations and then bring that to you all as the Board of Commission. So here are a few ways that we're making sure that we hold true to that transparent communication with the public, as well as bringing a transparent plan to you all as the Board of Commission. And with that, I'll close it out and I'll open this for discussion and then to answer some of the questions that you all might have. If you'd like me to revisit any of the slides, I'm happy to do that as well.
So if somebody that's making $100,000 a year, just pick a number,
Sure.
decides to relocate here, tell me what they're going to get.
They'll get assistance with their relocation expenses. While we don't think $1,500 will be able to cover its entirety, we do think it'll be a good boost to that. We also know that those that are relocating and will be operating remote work, they will have to have internet access as a top priority. So we want to offer assistance for things like that, as well as the tax rebate. So it would be a City of Paducah tax waive for that first year that they're here.
So it's $1,500 plus $50 a month
Correct.
so that's $600 plus $2,000 In
2%.
In this case, 2% or 2,000.
That's correct.
Okay. And how does that compare with other cities that you research? Because I've seen some of
Sure.
them myself, so.
I think it positions us in a very competitive way. There's all of these cities that I did case study research on do have a financial component. What they lack and what we will be able to offer as the City of Paducah is the high quality of life that we have all of these partner organizations. We have a great theater district, entertainment district downtown. We also have a lot of great secondary education institutions here that they can utilize for continuing education or just support. We also have a lot of great professional networks that they'll be able to connect with. So I think between that, and then also we would be one of the only communities, or one of the few, I should say, offering internet assistance. So we'll definitely stand out amongst the crowd with a plan.
So if I'm coming from Texas and I want to be a part of the program,
Sure.
what would be my steps? I contact you? Do I get approval from my employer? How does all that?
All of the above.
Okay.
So they would need to come to myself, and then we would coordinate with them to make sure that they are qualified through their employer to relocate here. We still have a few things to go through on each one of these steps to make sure that that happens. But that's what the first space would be is for me. And then we also would have a City of Paducah webpage, something that they can land on and do their own research, and something that I can walk them through as the staff lead.
With internet, is it theirs? Do we offer it? They just pick whatever internet they want, or?
Right.
Yeah. So, and we'll just pay up to $50.
Up to $50, that's correct.
What if they own their own company? It's the same thing, or?
Same thing.
But in that case, an owner might be making, considerably more than $100,000. I mean,
Sure.
so in that case, the incentive, the rebate after 1 year could be
Could
significantly
be
more.
sizable. Absolutely.
Are we, I hear that we've had a lot of people move in here. Are we grandfathering any in, or when is the start date? And
That would be up to you all as the commission if you wanted to put any of those boundaries around that. Generally, what we've seen in the case study research is just from the point that you all approve it forward.
That would be what I would recommend.
Yes.
I mean, it's,
so I have one more question.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I know on the Sprocket and Codify, like they have that first 50K.
Correct.
And those are companies that would be relocating here and bringing some employees here. Would those be considered? I guess they're more entrepreneurs. I'd have to look at it in a different way.
They would be,
probably.
I think that they would be eligible through our proposed program. From
But-
everything that I've lined out, they would be.
it's a good
Yeah,
question. So let's talk about the definition of remote worker, if
Sure.
they're employed with somebody now, then if they wanted to relocate here and work for the same employer, that's one scenario. But if somebody, decides that they want to work for somebody, let's say they get hired here and they could live anywhere. I don't know, I think we'd have to think through
I
all
do
the
too.
scenarios because.
There's a lot of different scenarios,
There is.
so we would want to make sure that we have it cut out very clearly in the program when we implement it. So like I said, would leave that to you all as the Board of Commission to delegate where you would like to see that boundary written. But everything, that I've seen is it's either remote work, sometimes it's a blended relocation, remote work. But the basis I went off of when I was doing case study research and putting together the program was remote work.
I think that probably would be different than the companies that win in the first 50K and locate here. They're actually moving and establishing a company here. I think it would be different, and they're getting quite a bit already.
Sure.
When they move, if they win.
I tend to agree because I think the intent of this is to attract remote workers that wouldn't necessarily have considered Paducah. So say, come look at our high quality of life, and these are some
Right.
additional incentives. So I think it's really to attract.
That's true,
you know.
but you're gonna get people that are gonna think about relocating here and saying, well, why not me? There's gonna be that why not me, scenario. That could come up. I'm doing this, so we'll have to,
A potential scenario I think that could work around this is with spouses. If the husband and wife are moving here and the husband has been employed by a local employer and the wife perhaps is a remote worker for someone in Atlanta or something like that, I think that we could, try to decipher is that applicable? Because while he is the one leading it and we're getting the family here, so.
yeah, this is one of those things where the devil's in the details.
That's
right.
There are a lot of different scenarios that
So,
could
There are.
happen.
here's
But
a-
ultimately, we want them to move here.
Yeah, of
Sure.
course.
And
Of course, and so the question, couple of questions. So, do we think it's enough? Do we think it's enough financial? I'll ask the commissioners. Is it enough financial incentive? Is it enough financial incentive? And should we cap the payroll tax? At some point in time. I mean, I'm just the payroll tax rebate. In terms of somebody, which, protects us kind of on the high end, and is it enough incentive to get people to pay attention? Because I've done my own little research, and
Sure.
I've seen $5,000, as a potential, people giving away $5. I've actually seen one that was 10. I don't think I've seen a lot of those, so I think this is creative. I like this. I'm just wondering if it's enough. And do we have a budget number?
100,000 was the proposed budget.
but did you
100,000.
take that and divide it by what you were looking at to get the 40 and then allow some money, I guess, for marketing?
Right.
So if we wanted to up them a number,
Yep.
like if we wanted to go from 1,500 to 2,500, that would just reduce the number of people that we would be able to relocate here.
That is one option.
Because obviously, I mean, if they're moving a household, that their expense, 1,500 is a very small amount. Now, if they're somebody new that's still in an apartment somewhere and moving here, which to me, I still think some of our biggest market is adult children of people who grew up in Paducah and their family still lives here and they're ready to come back.
Absolutely.
So, back to the 1,500 or 2,500, you call that for relocation expenses, but that's really just a cash payment, right? They're not gonna turn in receipts that says, I rented this U-Haul truck, or I paid, this company. Have you thought about that?
We have thought about that, whether it would be a reimbursement or just a direct payout. We tend to think that there should be some kind of proof of those expenses. Now, to what extent, if we want all of the receipts, not quite sure on that, but we definitely would want to see proof that, that it wasn't all just pocketed.
But if they, if they rented their own truck.
Sure. Still an
you know,
expense.
And moved their stuff, and let's say they spent 800, are we not gonna give them the 1,500? These are the kind of questions that are
Absolutely.
gonna come up, and, I tend to favor, kind of a cash payment.
Okay.
But, that's just me.
Right.
But it's definitely a scenario that we need to think through.
Ultimately, these are decisions will be up to you all. I'm happy to show you the data that I found through my case
Sure.
study research. So,
Well, if they move here, they're probably still going to have other expenses, a deposit on
Yep.
an apartment or
Right.
buying a house
Down
or
payments.
utility bills, unless they're moving in with their parents, which would be fine too.
Sure.
If that's the case, then they're still going to have some expenses. I guess we want proof that they're a resident of this. That's the
Exactly.
main thing.
That's
We
the
want
main
proof
thing.
that they
Yes.
have
They
relocated
have-
permanently.
And we're not requiring them to purchase a home, they can
Nope.
rent.
be rent,
But we need
relocating, like you
proof
said,
that-
moving with parents, whatever, just as long as they are a resident of
The
City of
city of
Paducah.
Paducah.
Yep. That's what we want to see.
What do you guys think?
I think some good points been brought up. We got still some questions. And
Sure.
I think you went with the codifying sprocket, but I think that's going more to the technical, that's part of it, but we could have engineers. I have a friend that's a safety engineer that just relocated from Chicago to here. I mean, he can, so.
I think, I mean, they're getting the first 50K, they're getting a lot of incentives to come here, and I
Yes.
think including free internet already. So I think that's a little bit different. They're establishing companies here. This is,
Yeah.
as you
I
said,
think we
remote
want this to be
workers.
broad.
Yeah.
You know, I think we want it to be broad, but Commissioner Galt?
I like you had the same thought of if it was enough. But I did a little research and I understand where you're coming from, but I don't want it to be cumbersome,
Right.
but I
Right.
think that we need proof
Sure.
as well. And there's probably a fine line between the two.
Yeah.
I'd probably be okay with increasing their relocation expense a little bit, because I don't know that I think 1,500, you can barely get a rental truck
Sure.
for that. So if we really want to bring them in, let's bring them in.
Okay.
I would rather be successful bringing 30 in than not be successful bringing 20 in.
Completely understand that.
Yeah,
We
that-
can readjust those numbers then. Sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
that's great feedback. We can take that, that's exactly the type of feedback we're looking for. And we could take that and make some adjustments and tweaks to it and really continue to further define our process. We didn't want to get too far ahead of the board and wanted some feedback before we really get into some of these details. So this is exactly what we're looking for.
Also, on like the 2 Market House Theater tickets, the symphony, I had offered the Paducah Young Professionals, we would waive the
Sure.
membership fee.
Right.
Do you have, I mean, if you added all of that up, those campaign perks, there could be, an additional $750 or $1,000 or something that people might be willing to do, just to kind of make it sound.
Add the value of those.
Yeah, you could.
Yes,
Yep.
I
You
mean,
could say $500 in, the value is $500
right,
here.
of these things.
So,
I think that's all in the marketing there, and I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think,
Honestly, there might be some businesses that reach out to you and say, I would send a bouquet of
oh, boy.
flowers or just some different
I
things
mean,
to anybody.
you could
that
probably get
moves
100
here.
businesses that
Sure.
want to give them a free meal, a free this, a free that. to get 'em.
Absolutely.
It might be cumbersome, but it also adds up.
Yes, it does.
That stuff does
That's a
add
good
up.
point.
It's a good point.
Here's what I'd like to suggest. I would like to set a time to,
Okay.
and I'm not sure I know, but we're 6 months in,
Sure.
to this commission, and I know we can't get it done by July 1, but I'd like to try to come up with something in the next 30 days.
Okay.
If let's call it August 1.
Okay.
If you guys are, and talk about it, bring us, email us, a second draft.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that.
And I'd be happy to, to weigh in on behalf of the
Sure.
commission and keep them informed of but I'd like to be ready to go. mean,
I understand.
We're
Absolutely.
losing time
Yeah.
at this point, I feel like.
Absolutely. Well, we can have a second draft ready to bring to you all at a commission meeting beginning of August. If that's what is okay with you all, or if you want it earlier.
I'd like to see you do it earlier.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, why couldn't you do it like in the next
Yeah.
2 weeks maybe, or 4
Okay.
weeks, so that we
Yes.
could approve it in July, ready to implement in August? Is that
There
what
you
you're
go.
thinking?
All right.
Yes, we'll regroup internally and bring it back, or, bring back whatever is necessary to approve, but we'll shoot for an August 1 implementation time, is what I'm hearing.
And I'll help out anyway.
Understood.
I'll engage with you, so.
Yeah, we'll
Wonderful.
regroup with the feedback you gave us and see where we can make some tweaks and
Sounds great.
get into
I'm
implementation.
happy to help with some of those perks.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you, Catherine. Great job. Thank you
Thank
very
guys.
much.
Thank you, Catherine. Sorry, man.
Okay, the next discussion item is about the Robert Cherry Civic Center. So, Civic Centers is a property owned by the City of Paducah that has a long history. When I was growing up, it was called the J.C. Civic Center, and later became the Robert Cherry Civic Center, named after one of our famous mayors. And the facility, gosh, I can remember when I was in in my business, going back to the 70s, we used to hold trade shows there, invite people from out of town. It's a pretty large facility. In recent years, it's used for a lot of different things. I know the Rotary Club holds its antique quilt show there. The Martin Luther King annually has their event there. 8th of August uses it for a dance on one of the evenings around that weekend, and various families use it from time to time for a lot of different reasons. Primarily because I think it's centrally located. It's traditionally been economical for people to use it. And so that's a little bit the history. The city has made the decision really to kind of repurpose the Robert Cherry Civic Center. And to give you a little bit of background, and Assistant City Manager, you can help me with these numbers, but currently the Parks and Recreation Department is housed in a facility that is very expensive to maintain. The heating, cooling, the energy costs around that building, I'm told to exceed $100,000 a year just to be in that building. In addition to that, the Robert Cherry Civic Center has operated at a loss for the last several years, anywhere from $35,000 to $65,000, depending on the year and depending on who uses it. The user fees that are collected really just don't take care of the expenses. So the combination of those two things has led the city to make the decision to repurpose the Robert Cherry Civic Center, and the plan is for the Parks and Recreation Department to move into that facility. Well, first of all, the city would have to be, the facility would have to be renovated and prepared for the Parks and Recreation Department to move in there. In addition, as part of that renovation, we would have a community room. We'll call it a community room. Still not sure exactly how large that community room would be, but it would, maybe it would hold 40 or 50 people. I'm not sure. I really don't want to be quoted on that because we don't have the plans. We haven't developed the plans, but the idea is that there would be a community room that people could come in and use, but much smaller than the Civic Center as we have it now. I've gotten some feedback from different people in the community, in particular from, I'd have to say the people that use the Civic Center more frequently than others, in terms of, where would we go to hold events? Where would we go if we wanted to have a family reunion? Where would we go if we wanted to have a celebration? And so we've done a little research, and I've met with people and talked through this. We've done some research. I reached out to a couple of event centers, both markedly different in price. The first one I talked with was Soirees, which is an event center on the south side. And for those of you who attended any of our south side meetings, it's a very nice event center. And I talked with them, and they talked about how welcoming they would be for people who have been using the Robert Cherry Civic Center to use their facility. Their prices, I feel like are very conservative. I also reached out to the Carson Center, Mary Katz, the executive director there. And now that's a totally different facility. Much larger and very different, but extremely nice. And Ms. Katz also confirmed that she would, very much like to work with some of these groups who have been using the Robert Cherry Civic Center. So I kind of wanted to just throw all this out there and let people know that first of all, the decision is really one of economics. It makes good financial sense to repurpose the Robert Cherry Civic Center for our Parks and Recreation Department, and it's a good economical decision for the city. There was no intent, to displace people in any way that have been utilizing the facility, and we feel and have confirmed that there are places around town that would like to host groups of different sizes. So because for a couple things, I guess, because people have reached out to me, and because I like to talk about things when they're happening kind of in the open, I say, let's pull the Band-Aid off and talk about it. That's a little bit about what this is. And so I just wanted to talk about it openly and give any of the other commissioners the opportunity to weigh in or talk about it, ask questions of our assistant city manager. You've got all the answers, right? So with that, I'll let anybody else that's got a comment talk.
Well, I appreciate you talking about it and bringing it out in the open, because I too have been approached about the Civic Center and our repurposing it. And of course, for everybody, perception becomes reality. And so some of the things that I've heard as to why we're doing it obviously are not true. Many have not heard what you've said tonight about the financial challenges that the city faces when it comes to just operating the Civic Center. And the perception, again, or the thought is that, from those who use the Civic Center on a regular basis, the thought is that, pushing us out and forcing us to use other places. And that's not true. We know that's not true. But talking about it now and helping people understand what it is that we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it, I think does make a difference. It's going to be anything that's new, anything that's about change, about adjusting is going to be difficult. But I think that once we get into this and start moving forward, I think people will, in fact, adjust to it. And I think people will appreciate the fact that you have been upfront and you've just laid it out on the table and given us an opportunity to talk about it. One thing, however, that I think about is that since we have not yet approved a design, we're just kind of out there right now. Is it possible, as we talk about repurposing it, is it possible to make the banquet hall, or whatever we want to call it, a little bigger to accommodate perhaps more people? I don't know. Nothing is final.
Right.
But my point is, I appreciate you talking about it. Go ahead and pull the Band-Aid off, and let's get things out in the open and talk about why it's really happening, and try to kill all that other stuff that we so often hear about things that people don't know or understand.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it up about, sizing the facility. We've got our Parks and Recreation Director here tonight, but it depends on the number of offices that we need,
Yes.
where offices are available at other places in the city. Getting people together makes for efficiency. I know for Amy and her team, so that's, I know that's important, but if there's an opportunity to make the community, room larger, I think we would certainly take advantage of that.
Mayor, if I may say this too,
Yes.
I think it's important that as we talk about doing these things, if we're going to displace people and or other agencies, it's important, I think, to get them in on the ground floor, talking about, and not just handing out, you're moving. You know, get them in there.
Absolutely, and one of the people that potentially is displaced here is the senior center, because they share that building with the Parks and Recreation Department. Now, I've been out to talk with the new director, and she is aware that we've had discussions about that, and it's going to take some time. This is not going to happen overnight, but I know that they've been out and looked at some buildings, and I'm getting way ahead of myself, but that building over there, which was the original technical school, right?
Absolutely.
That's got a lot of history to it, and it's got a lot of Paducah history, and it's a building that that we need to think about, what the opportunity is for redevelopment in the future, I think.
Absolutely.
Now it takes a developer to come in and want to do that, but it's a big building, and like I said, it's got some really Paducah history, in particular, I think, for the African American community.
West Kentucky School, that's where it was,
That's where it started. So,
with dorms and everything.
yeah.
I suggested to a realtor not too long ago that they should show it to someone, so I don't know if they wandered over to your building, Amy, to look at it. They said, is it for sale? And I said, it could be at the right price. What is our timetable on this? Because, how long do we just plan to leave the Civic Center empty for now, enclosed?
No,
Until
actually.
we make a decision?
Well, actually, we've got some money allocated. We've got in our priorities, we have, this is one of our priorities.
Yes, it is.
And so we have money in our, bond fund that we can allocate. And I feel like that we need to, probably bring that up for, discussion and voting on, if we want to allocate some of that bond money for this project and get started, within the next, either next commission meeting or a couple, soon. So no, I don't want to sit on the building and leave it empty. There's nothing good about that. We need to move, I think, if we're going to do it. Been looking down at this end. I'm missing anything? Are we good?
Thank you for making it clear for our intentions.
And I'll bring up something else. We're not. It's related, but we did this study last year on all the city's different structures and buildings, and the city owns a lot of buildings, and we got lots of buildings that need to be upgraded, and city owns too many buildings. We need to, city owns lots and buildings, that we need to sell, repurpose, do something with. So I think as we go along here, we're going to have to, start taking some action on some of these things and get moving. So.
Mayor, what steps are you thinking? Are you thinking that staff should get together and bring a proposal to the commission of some options? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I think we probably ought to make an estimate, of what the potential expenditures. I've heard a number of like 600,000. For the renovation. I don't know if that was an educated guess or.
Yeah, I think an educated guess. And I know the Parks and Rec Director, Amy, is here.
Okay.
Amy Clark is
please.
here to talk about it.
I'm just waiting to
Yes.
see where this went. So we have met with PFGW, and they are working on, they presented a proposal for what a site plan, that first phase would look like. And we actually have the money in the Civic Center fund this year to fund that. So I met with them last week, and we are working on what some design could look like for the Civic Center specifically. And the banquet hall, as well as catering prep space, is absolutely included in our future plans. So that's kind of where we are now, but we are working on what it could look like, and then they're going to give us that cost estimate.
How far away are we from that?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I don't know that, but I can find out.
Okay. So then I think the steps are probably to find out how far we are away from getting an educated estimate,
Yep.
if you will, and then proceed from there. You know, I don't know that I can lay out all the steps yet, but
That's fine. We're
Right.
headed in the right direction.
Right.
I just didn't want it to lay there.
No. No, and we can put together a more formal timeline and we'll definitely regroup with this
We
feedback
can do
as
that.
well.
This one's definitely not sitting, we've already kind of started moving this process forward. So
Great.
Even if you, did that and we're preparing to move out, the senior citizens can still stay there until they decide what they're going to do, I guess.
Yes, there's a lot of moving pieces with this plan. Maintenance, we have to figure out where maintenance is going to go. We're working with the senior center. They're actually looking at another facility of the city's, potentially for their relocation. So there's a lot of moving parts that I'm kind of like the mayor, I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Right.
But there's a lot of moving parts that we're considering as we move this forward, so.
well, it's good to hear that we're moving forward, and I think what I hear from the commission is we're behind you. So let's get moving, keep moving, and see what we can get done.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks, everybody. So that concludes really that portion of our agenda. We now come to comments. Any comments from our assistant city manager?
I did want to mention that the pool opened last weekend, so we are thrilled and hope families are getting to enjoy the pool. And it will be opened through August 8th. And the times are noon to 2 and 3 to 5. So please get out and enjoy the pool. We've had an issue with staffing as other companies are, but we are happy to be able to open it and have families there using it.
Okay,
Oh, thank you.
that's it? Okay. Comments from any commissioners?
I was just going to ask about the cups.
Oh, yeah. Where are the
They've been on
cups?
order. Were we going to get some to just use?
Nick, where are the, Katie, where are the cups?
There is a supply shortage
Yeah.
of cups, so restaurants are working on a solution. We are
Oh.
also trying to provide a stopgap, but it's a supply issue like many other things.
Oh, wow.
COVID on supplies, so we're working on it.
That's not enough cars,
Not enough cups.
not enough toilet paper,
Let's clear that now.
and now we don't have enough cups.
I just want to make people, though, aware that it's
Yeah.
just a shortage of cups. We got the approval, we worked so hard to get it, and it's just so, disappointing now to not be able to get the cups. So if there are things that we can do to, put the labels on other cups or something, I just want to encourage you to do that. So, anyway.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I was just going to ask, I thought when we began this, there were 21 potential restaurants that could be a part of the entertainment destination, and I see 13. Have the others just not decided, or are they slow-moving, or what's?
So Commissioner, we are working with 20 restaurants,
Okay.
bars, and cultural organizations. I believe we're up to 16 now that have formally executed their agreements. Some of the ones that we are still working with have boards of directors that they need to engage with, or that the business owner does not live or work in Paducah. So it's a little bit more time. So everybody has said yes, and there are still a few businesses that we're working to formalize those agreements.
Yeah, that's cool. I just wanted to make sure everybody was excited and ready to jump on this thing.
Yes. If anybody knows a cup vendor, please let me know.
So those cups, are they approved, the cups approved by the state? Is that what,
That
that's
is
the deal?
correct, really.
Okay.
It is a shortage on the supply side.
It's probably on a boat in the Suez Canal or something.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
We good on, and we don't have any comments. Okay, so could I hear a motion? We're going to go into executive session, so could I hear a motion?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to go into closed session for discussion of matters pertaining to the following topics: issues which might lead to the appointment, dismissal, or disciplining of an employee as permitted by KRS 61.8101F.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess.
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye.